still alive. But our cells need more than oxygen, which is nutrients, to sustain our body function. But from what we can get nutrients? The answer is from food. After we eat food, the food need to broken down first to get the nutrients for cell can use for energy. But how? Digestive system have two parts, which is alimentary canal part, which is the movement of food from mouth to rectum, and accessory organ glands part such as salivary glands, pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. So, let's take a brief look at how the digestive system works. Firstly, the first process is ingestion process, which is eating and putting the food into your mouth. Next, the food is swallowed and pushed into the esophagus. This is called a propulsion process. Next, the digestion process. The food will be pushed into the stomach to break down all the polymers to monomers such as polysaccharide to polysaccharides. For your information, stomach as a temporary storage only. Next, the food will push to small intestine through a duodenum. Small intestine acts as a major organ of digestion and absorption of most nutrients into the blood. Small intestine consists of three sections, which is duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. After the small molecules of food are reached at ileum, the molecule will enter to the large intestine through a cecum. The cecum will absorb water and salt from undigested food. Once the undigested food reaches the rectum, the elimination process takes place, and undigested food that is not needed in the body will be removed.
Hello, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Muhammad Irfan Ashra Benhami and I am from AS1203J. So this video I am to continue my presentation, and I'm going to explain about GI tract in our digestive system. So what does GI tract is, and how does food move through our GI tract? So first of all, GI tract is called gastrointestinal tract. So when the food moves through your GI tract by a process called peristalsis, the large hollow organ of your GI tract contain a layer of muscles that enable their walls to move. The movement pushes food and liquid through your GI tract and mixes the content within each organ. The muscle behind the food contracts and squeezes the food forward, while the muscle in front of the food relaxes to allow the food to move. So the first part of the GI tract is our mouth. Whenever we eat, the food will move through our GI tract. So in our mouth, there are two processes can happen, which is chewing and hydrolysis. Chewing is a physical breakdown of the food, and hydrolysis is the enzymatic breakdown of the food. So when hydrolysis occurs, the main purpose is to make a bolus. A bolus is known as a sphere digested food that can be swallowed and passed to the next structure, which is the esophagus. Okay, when we want to swallow the bolus, the food, our tongue will push the food into our throat, and there's a small tissue which is called epiglottis it will fold our windpipe to prevent us from choking from the food. So next is esophagus. So esophagus is basically an automatic process. Once you swallow the bolus, the food into your esophagus, the process will become automatic, and your brain signals the muscle of the esophagus and peristalsis will begin. Actually, esophagus is just the pass down the bolus through it. So the bolus will go down to the next structure, which is the stomach. Okay, so we move on to stomach. The stomach is a muscle that makes the food and liquid with the digestive juices. So the stomach then slowly empties its content, and it will call chyme. So chyme is actually the bolus. It will melt down and it will be more fluid structure. So that's it will call chyme, and then it will pass through the small intestine. So the small intestine, the muscle of the small intestine will mix the food with digestive juices that came from the pancreas, liver, and intestine itself. Then it will push the mixture forward for further digestion. Next, the wall of the small intestine will absorb water and the digested nutrients into our bloodstream. So as the peristalsis continue, the waste product of the digestive process can move towards the large intestine. So the large intestine, the function is to store waste products from the digestive process, include undigested parts of food, fluid, and all the cells from lining of our GI tract. Then the large intestine will absorb water and change the water itself from liquid into stool. So this stool, from peristalsis, it will move this stool into our rectum for the next process. So we have come to the last part, which is the rectum for our GI tract. Basically, it is the lowest end of our large intestine. Is that what we call rectum? So rectum function is to store stool until it pushes the stool out of our anus during a bowel movement. So basically, rectum it store the stool, the food that we eat, and it will secrete out to our anus by the end of the process.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nusar Iman Marwan and I'm going to talk about microvillus. So what is microvillus? To explain it in a simpler way, they exist as tiny little projections in, on and around the cells. They can also exist on their own or in conjunction with villi. Meanwhile, villi is tiny finger-like projections where they are made up of cells that line the entire length of small intestines. So where does the microvilli located? They are most often found inside the small intestines, on the surface of egg cells, as well as on white blood cells. So on the apical surface of some epithelial cells, such as the small intestines, there are thousands of microvilli where they form a structure called the brush border. Now we go to the structure of microvilli. Microvilli is a polymorphic class of protuberant surface found in some tissues and are loosely positioned in others. When compared to cilia, they are more shorter and smaller. They are commonly about 0.1 micrometer in diameter and range in length in fraction of 1 to 2 micrometer. From a microscopic observation, you'll see that microvilli is a bundle of cross-linked actin fibers. They are the extensions in the cells but have little to no organelles. They have their own plasma membrane covering them and enclose other structures such as microfilaments and cytoplasm. Every microvillus contains actin filaments that function as microvillus' structural core. The nucleation of actin fibers occurs as a response to external stimuli. It allows a cell to alter its shape to suit a particular situation. Next is the functions of microvillus. First, it increases the surface area of the cell effectively and are useful for secretion and absorption. Second, in the intestine, they work in conjunction with villi to absorb more nutrients and materials because they expand the surface area of the intestine. Third, they are also packed with enzymes that aid in the breakdown of complex nutrients to simpler compounds which are more easily absorbed. For example, for carbohydrates, the enzymes that digest it is called glycosidase. They are present in high concentration on the surface of the microvilli.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Akila Binti Masri. I will continue by explaining on how does bread being digested. In the mouth, there is mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. The bread is chewed by the teeth to break up food into small pieces. This will increase its surface area for digestive enzyme to act upon. The enzyme salivary amylase in the mouth begin breaking down starch into small polysaccharides. After that, the bread is rolled into a ball called bolus by the tongue. When the tongue is raised, the food was swallowed into the esophagus. In the esophagus, bolus moves down by peristalsis. Peristalsis is a rhythmic action of contraction and relaxation of the alimentary tract. Bolus will enter the stomach when the cardiac sphincter relaxes. In the stomach, when the bolus enters the stomach, there's the digestive juice produced by the stomach wall called gastric juice. It contains hydrochloric acid. This hydrochloric acid helps to kill the microorganisms in food that we eat. In stomach, there's no further carbohydrate digestion occurs because of the salivary amylase is inactivated in stomach. Small intestine. In small intestine, majority of starch digestion and breakdown of disaccharide occur here. The enzyme in small intestine is pancreatic amylase. This enzyme breaks down polysaccharide into maltose and other disaccharides. Then, the digestion of carbohydrate is completed by the enzyme attached to the brush border of the small intestine villi. So, the enzyme was maltase. Maltase breaks down maltose into glucose. Glucose is the final product of the digestion of the starch. So, that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Okay, so my turn to explain how the digestion of egg and sausage in our digestive system. Okay, actually egg contribute to a healthy digestive tract and can be helpful during digestive problem. Eggs are usually easy to digest compared to some other high protein foods such as meat. Okay, egg and sausage are protein because they both have amino acids. Amino acids are the raw material the body uses to manufacture human protein, which are vital components of human cells. Protein digestion begins when you first start chewing. There are two enzymes in saliva called amylase and lipase. Protein digestion takes place in stomach and small intestine. Pepsin, a stomach enzyme, initiates the process of fragmenting proteins into peptides.
Protein digestion is not as simple as eating an egg and magically getting amino acids. A large protein molecule breaks down through a few intermediate steps in the stomach and in the small intestine before it becomes the tiny amino acids.
The mouth receives food into GI tract. The modality of mouth is chewing. The functions of chewing are to make chemical breakdown of food particles and mix food and saliva. The salivary glands provide some saliva to eat swallowing foods. The passage of particles is through esophagus. The food particles in the stomach through esophageal sphincter. Protein digestion begins in the stomach with the action of an enzyme, pepsin. Pepsin is the active protein digesting enzyme of the stomach. When pepsin acts on the protein molecule, it breaks the bonds that hold the protein's molecules together, called peptide bonds. When those bonds are broken, the chains of amino acids are formed, called polypeptides. These polypeptides move into small intestine. In the small intestine, the pancreatic enzymes are trypsin, chymotrypsin, and carboxypeptidase. These enzymes enter the duodenum via pancreatic duct. These pancreatic enzymes are helped by the brush border enzymes, which is special enzymes found on the microvilli of the small intestine that complete digestion. The peptide bonds holding the polypeptides together. Enzymes continue to break down polypeptide and peptide into amino acids. Amino acids able to be absorbed through the small intestine lining and into bloodstream.